music. Oh, absolutely. It's going to be part of that music we come. Yeah. All right.
So we are here, wherever here is.
I don't know.
Is this about right? Okay, so my name is Stuart, and we are going to be doing a podcast series. Movee Media is my production company, and we do a lot of video production work. And the people we meet in the field when we're shooting our videos are oftentimes way more interesting. Well, present company excluded. Often way more interesting than we can fit in the video. And so I wanted to create a space where we can bring in people that we feature in the videos that we make and kind of get to know them better. So this is David St Romain. Introduce yourself, David.
I don't think they want to get to know me too well.
Oh, I think they do.
Okay. So I'm David St Romain. I am a lunatic from Baton Rouge who his brain doesn't stop moving fast and slow down enough for me. I just talk and don't think about what comes out of my mouth half the time.
Yeah,
that's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's he's a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun. Let's put it that way.
So I am a entertainer, music entertainer, singer songwriter. I consider myself a community advocate and a person who cares about others and tries to help others, and a dad to 3 kids. Got a lot of relationship experience, good and bad.
Yeah.
And so I give good advice on bad situations.
Well, so you were in, you have a relationship with the Salvation Army.
Yes.
So last week we went out to the Salvation Army and we filmed a tour at the Salvation Army facility here in
Did you say
Baton Rouge.
tall or tour?
Tour. You sound like my kids. They're always mocking me because they sound like y'all.
Y'all.
So anyway, yeah, we had a great time. We were like 5 hours, 6 hours on site. Can you share, for those that don't know, what your involvement with the Salvation Army is? Why were we there?
So I was hired. I was booked for a gig for music to perform for the Salvation Army's annual gala. It's called Shield of Hope here in Baton Rouge at the Manship Theater, and on top of just showing up to perform, I like to give where I can, and they asked us to shoot a video, and it was great to bring you in on that and have you part of that, because we got to feel the continuation of this circle, that we're putting together, and it just worked out right away. And I think when we went there, when I got there, I really didn't know what to expect. I think, my experience with Salvation Army came from my cousin who went through some recovery work over there at their facility. And so I knew they did in-house, inpatient recovery programming, but that was kind of it. I know they have a thrift store also, because I've been to it. But other than that, I didn't realize, what they did. And so going in there, I think it really, it opened my eyes big time. It was fairly heavy to hear the stories and feel the work through the people who work there, but also the people that receive it. So we got a full Monty on everything. I mean, from just the administrative side to the actual people who do the labor and do the work, to the people that are utilizing the services. And so, it really showed me a broad spectrum, and also it opened my eyes to the fact that Baton Rouge has a resource, and really the country has a resource with the Salvation Army that I don't think that we're using to its full potential. I think I can only speak from our community's standpoint, but here in Baton Rouge, we have quite a bit of homeless. We have the drug epidemic here is extremely high, and we have a huge amount of addiction here across the board. And we have in the country, we have for-profit mental health facilities, and we have very few and state-run recovery facilities. And I think or drug treatment centers, as they like to call themselves. And so one of the areas that I think Salvation Army hits on both sides is, or maybe all three, if you want to call it, because it's a continuum of care for them. I think it starts with the first step of getting, I don't think they have a detox center. What I understand is they take addicts from the point of detox or post detox, and then put them in a 6-month program, inpatient program that they house and conduct, recovery programming with those individuals. And it's all male. They do have a female facility, I believe, off-site or not on the same area, but it's mostly, I understand Baton Rouge to be mostly male. And again, this is, we see this, everyone sees this on the streets when we go down Segan Lane, or you go down by Interline over off of Airline, and areas, we have pockets of homelessness. And obviously there's a mental health disorder that goes along with it, but majority of them are dealing with drug addiction, and alcohol addiction. And so they are serving these people free of charge. And so their funding comes mostly from their service, their own model, which is the thrift stores and fundraisers, event fundraising. They don't get a lot of grants because they're a religious-based organization, and it's hard for religious-based organizations to get grants. I don't know if you know that.
So, I mean, I learned a lot about not just the Salvation Army on the shoot, but also about your connection to them. It was nice to hear your personal connection to them, and it just left me thinking, well, they chose the right person for the fundraiser. So when is the gala?
April 28th. I'm sorry, April 23rd.
April 23rd, and it's called Shield of Hope.
That's correct.
I hope everyone enjoys the video when they go to the gala. So
well, you did a great job with this video.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think, so I've known you for, too long, man. I've known you for
20 years.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of get into your music career, because a lot of that led to your celebrity status here in Baton Rouge, I guess, for want of a better.
Whatever the hell that is.
Well, they picked
call
you.
that
I'm just
famous in a small town.
So, how did your journey with music start, and bring us up to date?
I always knew I wanted to be a musician, a singer. I mean, it was evident early on that I had a voice, a special talent there. And so at 10 years old, I picked up the guitar in a Mel Bay book, and I taught myself how to play guitar. And that obviously took years, but through those years, I performed in talent shows at school and did some musical theater down in South Florida where we were living at the time. And it was just no doubt. I mean, I wanted to be an entertainer. The attention that came from it. I realized later, that I was seeking fulfillment using music to do that, but none of that awareness came until way later, only in the last few years. And so, but that fulfillment, that I would receive, that high that I would get on stage was, you couldn't replace it. I mean, there was no drug or anything that would ever give me that type of feeling. And I loved it. And so I started playing.
You were born a country music rock star.
I was born to sing, baby. And I had a way, there's something, I don't like to admit it. I have a way, but I do know that I have a way of connecting with people, and it's special. It's it's not just a personality. It's also a talent. I think I've recognized that I'm able to relate to so many different aspects of people's lives. I find a way to relate. I tend to look for that immediately in a conversation. I mean, when I meet someone, the first thing I want to do is help them. And I think that shows in my music. I think when I perform, I care about what the audience is feeling, and I'm always trying to do the most I can to give them the best feeling in that moment, and have, so I continued doing that through high school. When I got out of high school, I actually moved to Nashville for 3 months, slept on a couch, worked at Opryland.
Went straight for it.
Yeah. Opryland Hotel, parking cars as a valet. Found out I knew nothing about the music industry, and all the thoughts of, I'm going to be a star next month was way out the door really quickly. And then I moved back to Baton Rouge and had $32, I think, maybe $36 in change that I got back in my Prelude, my Honda Prelude at the time. Slept at the Laurel Rest Area in Laurel, Mississippi. That night, it was like a bit of an awakening for me as a young man. that, it's, go west, young man. It's like your journey in life to just find yourself. It was my first time that I had ever really done that. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And I called my dad, and he's like, just come home. You got a place. And so I did. And I joined the National Guard, which gave me a huge opportunity to learn about discipline and how to really not be scared to go after something. And that really motivated me big time. And so after during the National Guard time, I just continued to develop my career. I sort of acquired an indie record deal. It wasn't officially a record deal, but I guess it turned into that. We were trying to get a record deal on a major label, and couldn't get a record deal. So we ended up.
Why couldn't you get a record deal?
I was pretty green. I mean,
okay.
I was really green.
And how does that?
I mean, I didn't, I think.
Like you're green ignorant, or just you were green young, or?
I was just green.
You've always been talented. I mean.
Yeah, I don't think talent had
enough?
anything to do with it.
Okay.
I honestly don't. To get a record deal these days, like I said earlier about the awareness of the fulfillment, I didn't learn that until later. Had I known that stuff then, I would have probably had more of a story for them to attach to, for them to sell. I know that sounds terrible, but they like to exploit whatever. It's like drama, like television. And so, later on, I realized that stuff that had happened to me as a child affected my decision making as an adult. And because of that, I mean, had I discussed that at that time with them, or really kind of told my story to them, I was just a clean cut kid who liked to smoke weed. That was about the worst thing I ever did. And so, and they just didn't see it. They had, it was a few other guys up for the same record deal at Mercury Records. Eventually, they got the deal and I didn't. And so
how did Nashville Star come along? Because Nashville Star was when I met you because of the media around that.
Right. That was like 6 years later. We finished the first record in 2001. It was huge opportunity to play and record with the best of the best guys in Nashville. And so, but we didn't get the record deal. So we ended up putting it out ourselves, which from a standpoint of having an album that's great, it's always going to be there. So that I'm really grateful for, but, we didn't really have any.
Is that the album with,
DSR?
Yeah, is that the Yellow and Black album with what's that "Don't Take My Gun" song that you get?
No,
okay.
That's the Vidalia record that came much later.
Okay,
yeah,
I still listen to that, by the way. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No, this was I look like a baby. I look like a young child on this picture. I had taken the picture when I was 19, and we used that picture. But actually, I remember we photoshopped my girlfriend who was next to me. She's like not even visible, like you can't see. There was another person next to me, so it was really funny. But yeah, we used. We put this record out and without any promotion money. And so you know how that goes. I mean, at that time we were still in the industry. It hadn't eaten itself yet. And so the industry was still selling albums, CDs. And so we sold over the course of, I guess, 10 years after that, I sold about 20,000 records. But that doesn't amount to a whole lot in the end, at that time. Over a period that long. But we, so then I went on tour for a few years, got married the first time. And, when I say went on tour, I mean, I played like the shittiest of shitholes that you could find in Casper, Wyoming and Minot, North Dakota and, Virginia Beach. I mean, the stories behind, like, I played this show.
Putting in your hours.
Yeah. I mean, cutting my teeth hard and making $2,000 a week for 5 shows with the band.
Wow.
You provide production. I mean, like, so we didn't make $300 a night, most of us, the whole band, as a group. And so you find guys that were willing to make $300 a week and you do that, you do that with them for a little while. 2006, my daughter was born October 19th. Well, let me back up. My wife at the time was pregnant. In September, I'm sitting down with a co-writer friend of mine at my house. And he gets there and he's like, man, I just feel it, bro. Something great's going to happen for you, man. I just feel it. And we're in the middle of writing this song called Running in Circles, and my phone rings. And in that moment, and a guy named Billy Block, who was a promoter in Nashville, whose sons have gone on to become very famous songwriters. And he was best friends with my mentor who had helped me put out my first record. He's like, man, I'm helping put together tryouts for this TV show called Nashville Star on USA Network. And I had already actually tried out once in 2006, the year before, or 2005, the year before, in Salt Lake City while I was on the road. Never got called back or asked to be on the show. But so he took me we went to Houston in November. No, it was excuse me, we went to Houston in September.
I won't hold you to specifics. But
Yeah, right. And we did the audition, and again, my wife was pregnant, and she was maybe 4 weeks out, so it was a lot of stress around me being nearby, you know. But I showed up at this audition, and we had the executive producer, associate producer of the show, and I don't know who he was, but one of the production producers who ran all the live TV side of it. They were the three judges, so I knew I had the real people in the room. Which is what matters, because you don't have some box checker, you know, who's the filter between them. And it was me and about 15 or 20 other people, and one of those people was Casey Musgraves, who became a huge star after our show. But we both went through and got onto the semifinals in November, and we went through the semifinals. I got on the show. I ended up getting third place on the show, so it was a huge opportunity for my career. You know, I did all 12, I believe, or maybe 8 or 9 shows. God knows how many votes I got, but it was in the hundreds of thousands, and it was a real opportunity for me to take my career to the next level. And so moved back to Nashville after the show to try to get another record deal and do it again. Yeah. And at that time, I was about 30 years old, maybe 29. So I was a little bit older than most of the guys getting record deals, because they're typically pretty young. We still couldn't get a record deal. It was crazy. It was like, I don't think this guy's country. And they didn't know. They didn't know where
country enough.
Yeah, they didn't know where I was, and we didn't have a Stapleton out yet. Like, okay. Stapleton wasn't a thing yet. He was already writing big hits, but he wasn't like, we had Billy Currington was about the most soulful singer we had in country music, and he's good, but he's definitely not the Johnny Lang of country music. I mean, you've got Stapleton's the Johnny Lang. It was, had he been out, I think there would have been a clear lane for them to sell me in. To market me to, but I at that time, timing was a little off, and thank God. I think it was supposed to happen that way. Continued on, put out my record. We raised enough money to make a record ourselves, ended up putting it out ourselves. I had one charted hit, 54, cost a lot of money to get it there, but it was like putting money in a toilet. I wish I would have done something else with that money, but again, I can go, well, I learned so much about distributing a single and what radio promotions look like and what, free radio shows look like, and just all these different aspects of our industry. I kind of went to school, in the School of Hard Knocks, and ended up moving back to Baton Rouge with my family and making some changes there. And we, around 2014, I sat down with some friends, technology partners of mine, and we were trying to sort of reframe where I was at and where I was going, and how to take me with what I've done and where to go with it. And I felt this already. I started telling them, I don't think that I'm just a singer. I think there's more to it. John Rich is a singer, one of the guys in Big and Rich, and he was in Lone Star originally. John is a very multifaceted businessman. He started his publishing company. He started a thing called Music Mafia, where he started producing and writing all these tracks for Gretchen Wilson and James Otto and all these other artists. And next thing you know, I mean, he's diverse in how his revenue comes in. It was publishing, it was business, it was, a liquor. He's got a whiskey, Redneck Riviera. I really was inspired by him and seeing him work in all of these different aspects of the industry and business. And so he actually inspired me big time. And I got to spend a lot of time with him during the show and after the show. So that was really cool. And so that about 2014, I was like, I think I'm supposed to be doing more than just, I was on my way to 40. Let's just say that. And sure. And I'm like, I got to do more than just this shit. Like, I can't be singing in a bar room in a casino for the rest of my life. I'm going to want to kill myself if I do that. Not literally, but it was way more for me, and I knew that. And so I heard that.
So what'd you do with that information?
Public figure kind of advocate. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, I started, I don't know why. I mean, I basically knew I I needed some help emotionally, spiritually, and kind of went out and sought that help. And during that time, discovered, some of those childhood things that had happened to me had really affected me. I mean, I had, just made just bad, poor decisions, from intimacy, just weird, things that were just
Don't be too hard on yourself.
addictive behaviors.
We all make bad decisions.
Absolutely. But I didn't know where it came from at all. I just thought I have two older brothers and we're just competitive. And that, but it was way deeper than that. And so that recovery work or that therapy work really helped me to.
And that was around when you were coming up on 40?
Yeah. Okay. I was like 2014, 2015.
And what are you now? Like, what are you, 82?
Yeah, you're funny. 47. So
okay.
I was like 37, I think,
Right.
something like that. But I started telling people, hey, I want to help. Use music to help people. And I didn't know what it looked like. I thought selfishly, immediately like, I just want to perform for people. And how do I get to perform for, just adopted kids or shelters or whatever. And, people where music could just make a difference in their day. And a state trooper called me one day. He's like, hey, you want to have lunch? And I'm like, oh shit. What did I do? Like, did they bust me smoking weed somewhere and he doesn't want to put me in the jail?
I don't think they invite you to lunch for that.
No.
At the station.
So I actually, his daughter played soccer with my daughter. So I was on the sidelines doing this and telling him, I want to play music for people somehow and help them. Well, they were building a child trafficking house here in Baton Rouge at the time. And on the state police headquarters training ground. And he said, told me about it. And he said, in a few months, when they finish, let's go over there. And so we went over there about 6 months later when it was all done and they had the girls in there. And I met with the director. And during that, it was already pretty heavy to me. I knew something was, I was doing it. And I was all volunteer. I didn't make any money on this. I didn't even know what was going to happen. And so I'm sitting in there just like this, talk across from the desk, and
like a round table situation.
Telling the guy, and we've got couple other people, the state troopers in there. There's another lady who's on the board and of the directors for the board of directors for the nonprofit that runs the house, and they the girl walks in, a young girl, one of the girls from the home walks into the office and says, Miss Donna, I wrote this poem. I need a piece of paper, and I'm like. Boom, it hit me. And man, when I tell you I broke down, I looked like a child in that room, I'm sure, in front of all those people. But I looked at the guy, I said, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to write songs with them. And that was the inspiration of how my organization that I ended up starting a few years later came about. And so I worked on a sort of a non-official way I just went in there and I started writing their stories into songs. I would hear them tell me about their life and
these girls,
and I would share. It started with me going in there as a group. I brought them all together with the nuns who run the house, and I disclosed my childhood trauma and my life and my mistakes and all the struggles and the addictions and all that to them. And so the walls came tumbling down. Plus, I'm a man in a trafficking home with a bunch of young teenagers that had been trafficked by men. And so that there's a very interesting dynamic and a very respectful way to handle that. And so from my end, I knew that going in, really wanted to respect their space and their ability to walk away if they, if they didn't want to be in a room with me or whatnot. Because it is that bad for some of them. They're scared of men in general. And so that was really powerful. It was very dark, but it was very powerful. And I didn't know I had the ability to receive stories the way that I did and to receive their disclosures and do it in a respectful way and receive it with comfort and compassion and empathy and sympathy in some cases where I had dealt with my own abuse, in the same way that they dealt with it. Some of those stories were really, really hard. And I don't want to get too deep with it, but I'll tell you, it's probably the worst stuff I've ever heard in my life. And to think some of it, parents selling their children, abandoning their children. But it's just a reality of some of the world. And And so I started doing that, and then I was picked up by the Children's Advocacy Center here in Baton Rouge to go to work for them. They recognized, the executive director recognized that I could go out and speak on behalf of them, raise money, help them, and I had my own connections. So I spent a year with them as the education specialist, doing about 10,000 times more things than that, because you know me. Sure. I'm not going to just sit back and teach. I'm like, let me get your finances right. Let me get your spreadsheets right. Let me get all this process put together for you. And I had been, as an entertainer, I had been running my own business. And, I had a little side business here and there. And so I felt like I had some business acumen that I could offer to them. And it did. It was good for them. But it also prepared me because I sort of got to shadow that executive director and learn about where the struggles were for a leader and where the real positive things to do for the organization, and learned so much. I was really grateful for that. And it was only for a year. I told them up front, only 1 year, because I have my own things I want to do. During that time, Lieutenant Governor here in Louisiana asked me to pilot a songwriting workshop with veterans. And it was incredible. It was like, how did you know I was already doing this? Nobody knew. And it was a very, just a sanctified thing where it was like God was putting these circles together.
So now you're, I guess you're slightly north of 40, I guess. And
47.
you're also a vet, and so a third party came to you to ask to do this, and it's
right.
Like,
they knew I was a singer-songwriter, but to be the one that they asked out of everybody here in Louisiana for this grant that they had received through Arts and Humanities, and so we put together a pilot program with 4 workshops across the state in 2018 and 19, early 2019, and that turned into what is now, in late 2019, I cranked it out officially as a nonprofit. It's called Songs of Survivors. And we bring veterans together across the state of Louisiana. And we write songs. We write a song with the group as one unified group and one unified song. And it allows them the opportunity to express their stories, sometimes positive, sometimes really dark. And we've had just incredible moments of first-time disclosures of abuse, first-time disclosures of struggle, and the outcome. I mean, we've had veterans tell us that they went home and told their wives stuff they had never said before, and it's really changed their life in such an incredibly positive way. And so that is like, and then just a continuation of a full circle every day. I find I just listen. What's next, Lord? What's next, God? What you got for me? Because you got something coming, and I'm just waiting for it. And as I wait, he just pours out. I continue to play a lot of shows, mainly private shows, but I'm doing a book this year. I'm writing a book with my partner in crime, who's on the box right now, switching. And I'm really honored.
Susie, would you mind grabbing a coffee for me? I think I've got a coffee over there somewhere.
Oh yeah, he's making you get on camera. He knows.
No, I'm just gonna. You grab the headphones and just grab a drink, my coffee or whatever. Yeah, I'm a little thirsty.
So
appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll give it a second.
Yeah.
This is one of those Joe moments where all right, we got to pee, and we'll be right back.
All right, cool.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, so.
All right, so you got your
coffee. Yes.
Awesome. So, I kind of shifted into my nonprofit work, but during all of these years, these 10 to 15 years, really, of this calling that came about, I continued to play. I started working on another record with another band while I was doing all this other stuff called Vidalia. The band was Vidalia, and the record was an EP, about 5 songs.
Was that songs. An existing band that you partnered with? Or
That's correct. Yeah, it was an existing band. They had a big hit called Louisiana.
It was legit. That album was great.
Well, Matt Tortorich is a talented son of a bitch. Like, he's crazy talented.
And who is he in relation to the?
So Matt is the original producer and part owner, creator of Vidalia, the band.
Okay, cool.
He and another guy, Ronnie Calhoun, started the band. It really didn't even exist as a band. Ronnie just had some songs. He's like, I need to hire a producer to produce the demos. And so when Matt started working on these demos, he was like, man, these songs are pretty good. We should start a band. And so they brought one of their friends in to sing, and they started doing it. And I mean, I think 20 million Spotify, they had a big hit regionally called Louisiane, and it was a theme song for Walk-Ons at one point, right in the beginning of Walk-On's creation. And I think Ronnie got a bar tab for that. That was his royalty. And so,
is that how it works in the music industry?
I mean, at least
it works.
For the beginning, we can carve the apple however you want, the pumpkin. But
no, it's very cool. I mean, so I have the good fortune of listening to you strum away and play randomly these days, last couple of weeks, and you still have the passion for it. You can hear it in the way you sing, man. Does that ever go away? You ever get on stage and you're just like, I'm not in the mood for this, or does it light you up still? Do you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it depends. I mean, if there's anybody in the audience,
okay,
but I remind myself in that moment, if there's like this one or two people, I'm looking at them going, I need to give them the best show I can give them right now. Cool. And remember that, I try not to, I've kind of taken the easy road a little bit, because I stopped playing hard ticket shows where it matters how many people I bring. So it's more about, if you haven't, for me, it's in the last 10, 15 years, really, it's been about me, or not 15, but 10 years. It's been you have an event, I'm going to play you and entertain your crowd that you bring. Because there was a saying that was said in my by one of my wives, that said, she used to say, you got to stop living by the applause. And I really, really connected with that, where regardless of if they applaud or not, they might be loving what you're doing. And I found that actually, the imposter will tell you while you're on stage, you're having this conversation, you're singing a song, you don't forget the words, and you're still having a whole conversation with yourself while you're singing. And the conversation of nobody's listening. Do they really give a shit?
That's called schizophrenia, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty crazy. I told you, I'm a lunatic from the get-go.
My dad had at least two people in his head. I have two. So
yeah, but we, and so that's kind of how it, how I got away from worrying about whether or not people are liking what I'm doing. I still struggle with, when I'm performing my own songs, even more, which doesn't happen often because Susie's all over me about starting to move back into playing more of my original music. But, I have all these records and I seldom perform them because I'm playing shows where people want to be entertained with stuff they know, and Chicken Fried and, and calling Baton Rouge. But you're just, so anyway, just to kind of go back to our conversation about where I'm at and where I've been. Around 2016, we put an EP out with Vidalia. So the original, I forgot to back up. So the original singer kind of moved back to Vidalia, got married, and he didn't want to do it anymore. So that's when they came to me.
Is that the correct pronunciation, Vidalia? Because I've always called it Vidalia.
I mean,
it's a tiny town in Louisiana.
We're from the South in America, and you're from
not there.
Not there. And so I think it's. I'm sure there's a Northerners version is Vidalia, or maybe it's a local version. Maybe that's how they say it. And I say Vidalia.
I don't know what this
Vidalia.
is. So the guy moved back to the town.
So he moved home, and then Matt came to me and said, "Hey, would you want to? I think there's still some life in this band. Would you want to maybe join up and be the lead singer now?" And so I was going through some of my transformation in my own life, and I needed it more than anything, to have that continuation of, I still had it, because at one point around that time, I think I was like, I'm done. Like, it's over. And,
done like burnt out, done
like, Nashville has a way of making you think that you only have one shot to shoot your shot, one chance to shoot your shot. You go there, you make your impression, and you either make it or you don't, and they give up on you. And
you thought that was your shot.
And I thought that was my shot in 2007 after the show, after I couldn't get a record deal. It was like, you know what? They don't want me anymore. Guess what? They still don't want me. The difference is I don't give a fuck. Like, the difference is I'm going to continue doing it because I want to continue doing it. And I had to get to that place.
Wanda Sykes has a beautiful comedy special where she talks about that phrase and how as you get older, it just gets easier and easier to say, you know, and it's true. So, no, you've lived quite a life, my friend, quite a life.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
the stories are endless.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, I don't want to take too much of your time, man. But this has been wonderful, and
we could be like Joe Rogan and go 3 hours. I guarantee you, it'd be easy.
Maybe we should, because
at some point.
So yeah, I mean, we may as well share, since this isn't really a formal thing. But so we are now sharing office space. We have a fairly large office facility here, and this is where we're filming in this podcast space. So. Yeah, so you're just down the corridor now. So I hope to.
I hear you yell, "I am a genius!" I love it. Nice, nice.
Yeah, I spend a lot of hours in the edit room, as you're learning. So
I love it. No, we are. The way this happened, again, it's every step of the way that we have done in my book, or my last 10 years, have been some like supernatural, and I hate to use the word again, sanctified, but there's a blessed thing about what we're doing. The Salvation Army is a good example of how immediately we're serving someone way above and beyond what a normal gig would do for me.
How else you gonna do though? How else you gonna do?
You come through with this incredible package for them at way discounted rate. And so all of a sudden, and the way this office came about was someone needed a podcast, and who already had this, and they said, we want a partner. And I knew at that moment I couldn't do it. I didn't have all of the ability to put this together and run it correctly and do it streamlined and do it properly. Top of the game, man. And you came to my mind immediately, and I thought, man, you're living in a closet right now. You need space. I mean, it was bigger than a closet, a couple bedrooms, but put together. But it was like I started thinking about the growth for you, how you could grow using this space. And it was only going to benefit us and you and Michael, our partner in this. And man, this is a blessing. Huge.
Well, I tell you what, not bad for 3 weeks worth of effort while we're both doing our regular work as well. So to get this far and to have this podcast out as quickly as we have, I'm very pleased, and I'm looking forward to what's next, because
I'm ready.
There'll be some stuff.
I told you we could just turn on the cameras and go live. Man, I'm ready. I mean, I just need I want to get my brother over here when he's medicated, and he's got
I got brothers coming over from the UK for the next couple of
when they come here,
we are definitely going to get some of the family on as well.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, until then, man, I appreciate your time very much. You are the man.
I love you.
Appreciate you very much. All right. Cool.
Let's do it.